Okay, so once you've got your final draft drawn and your work page set up, then we also want to take some steps to set up Desmos before we get too far into this project. So I have Desmos pulled up on my screen, and I'm doing this on a computer, so it might look slightly different when you do it on your iPad, but I strongly doubt it. If your app, by the way, at any point does not work, then just switch to the web version. The website is just desmos.com, and then you just click Start Graphing. The first thing is to make sure that you're signed in. So up here in this right-hand corner, we want to click Sign In and sign in with Google. Make sure your name appears up in the corner. Okay? Then you should have a blank graph. If you don't, you can always click this little triple horizontal line thing and choose New Blank Graph. But you should already have one popped up. You're going to want to change the name. So where it says Untitled Graph, I'm going to click and I'm going to write Line Project 2017. You could name it Puppy Dog, Minnie Mouse, Kobe Bryant, whatever your project is. If you want to put it that name, that's fine too. But I'm just going to put Line Project 2017 and click Save. We've talked about this before. There's the bell. We've talked about this before, but you're going to want to frequently press that Save button. Okay. One thing we didn't do with our Pine Tree project, a little mini version, was we didn't ever insert text over here into our list of equations. And that's what we're going to do for your project to keep it organized. So this plus sign allows you to add different types of things to this list of equations. If you just press here, you're only going to be able to write an equation. Y equals 3x plus 4, for example, right? If you go to the next line, same thing. Y equals 2x minus 9, whatever. Well, if we want to add in some text to actually organize this by our lines, you're going to press this plus sign and add in a note. What we've been adding in are expressions, or honestly, we've had equations. We're going to add in a note. When you do that, notice the little icon on the left changes to a quotation mark. So I'm going to type in line 1. And I'm going to do another note just to go ahead and get it started. Line 2. Okay. Obviously, I'm going to have lots of lines. So I'm going to keep doing this for a few lines just to show you. Okay. Oh, that does not say line. Then I'm going to start organizing. It's really easy on a computer to just drag these where you want them to go. It's kind of hard on an iPad. You kind of have to tap it and then kind of hover a little bit. It gets a little complicated. So if you want to wait until you're sitting at a computer or something, it actually is really easy. But it does work on your iPad. Just takes some finagling. So line 1, I'm going to move to the very top. And I'm going to say that red line is line 1. Line 2, I'm going to move up. I'm going to say the blue line is line 3. When you are ready, let's say you're just setting up at this point and you're just adding in more and more notes that say line 4, line 5, line 6, line 7. When you're ready to actually start putting in your equations, you can either do the plus sign and add an expression, or just go ahead and click in this open area. Okay, so let's say I have another one. Line 3 will be y equals negative 2x plus 2. I'm making this up. Okay, obviously you need your domains and stuff. So I'm going to drag this up to show that that's line 3. Okay, so you kind of want to have these dividers throughout. This is helpful for many reasons, but first of all, because again, if you come to me and you say, hey, Mr. Williams, I really don't know why this line is so long, I could say, well, what line is that? And you can look at your picture and say it's line 3. Then we can scroll over here until we get to line 3 and actually fix it. In this case, add in our domain, whatever it may be. Just making this up. So that it's the correct length that you want. Okay? So that's one part of organization. You will eventually have 3 separate forms for each line. So if you go through and you add in your slope or your point slope form, oops, okay, for a line, you move it. That should also be part of line 2. Now I just literally made that up. It's literally not the same line. But you should have multiple forms in here. So let me show you kind of a completed example of what your Desmos will look like once it's all complete. Okay, so here's an example of someone's project. It's a Pikachu, I'm pretty sure. Over here on the left-hand side, you can see how they have their lines all set up. So I can scroll through this and say, okay, line 22, there's the 3 equations of their line. Line 23 was just a hoy, so they really only had one form in there, which we'll talk about here in a little while. Line 24, there's their 3 lines. Scrolling, line 25, there's the 3 lines. Line 26 was just a Vux. So I can scroll throughout this whole thing and find what I need. So again, if this person had said, hey, I need help with line 84, I wouldn't have to sit here and go like this and look and look and look and look and look. I would just scroll all the way down and I would find line 84 right here. Okay, so you want to make sure again that this is organized just like your paper is, so that at any point we can find what we need. Okay, so you can do this part as you go. You don't have to set up every single line from the beginning if you don't want to, because it is kind of hard to drag and drop. However, you do want to make sure that you are consistently inserting notes that have the line labels on them. A few other options you have is to use folders. So in this plus sign, you also have the option of adding a folder. That's what this student did to keep hers a little bit separate. She first did a folder of her main lines, and this is just the part that you're going to do like from the beginning. She's got line 1, line 2, line 3, etc., 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 right? Well, at the end of her project, when she wanted to go above and beyond, she decided to add in some shading. So she just made herself a separate folder and put all of her shading lines inside of the folder. Okay, that is not a requirement, but that is something that she went above and beyond to try to keep organized. Okay, here's another example of using folders. This person kind of broke up their sets of lines. So he put all of his helmet lines in here, which is lines 1, 2, 3, all the way down. And then all of his jersey lines in here, which is line 28, 29, etc., etc. You don't have to do that, but it was organized and he knew exactly where everything was. And then he also made a shading folder. Okay, again, totally optional. You just press folder and then you'll add lines within that folder. One more example, this person made every line its own folder. Now, while this was really organized and beautiful, it did take him a long time because he had to drag every equation into each one of these folders. But it did make it really easy to navigate over here. He clearly stopped after a certain point. But it did make it easier over here to see where all of his lines were in Desmos. Okay, so again, your only real requirements are that you have the notes that divide up your lines. Because you will have 3 equations within each one. It gets a little busy, a little crazy over here, so I need to see the notes that say line 1, line 2, line 3, etc. Make sure you also are always pressing save, that green button at the top. Every few lines that you put in, I'd press that save key and make sure that it actually does save. Alrighty, let me know if you have any questions.